Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury. Electrifying.
Yes, guys, welcome back to the Unhinged, the Undefeated, and the Unbreakable TCP Live, coming at you live at 7:30 p.m. every Thursday evening on YouTube and available ad-free on YouTube memberships and Patreon. Hello, Rohan.
Hello, Alexander.
How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Yes, I am good. I am very happy that Arsenal are going to be signing a football player. Yay!
Is it
That's
confirmed
news.
then? Is it confirmed?
It's confirmed.
Basically?
It's going to happen.
Basically.
Welcome back to TCP Live. Hello, everyone. I feel like maybe Arsenal watch TCP. Who knows? Maybe Andrea Berta saves sort of exclusives, bombers, let's call them.
He thinks, these two dweebs, absolute dogs.
These two dweebs can talk out their arse about football players on a Thursday evening. Because he dropped the Šeško news last week through Fabrizio Romano. We spoke about Šeško. And this week, Rohan, we have another exclusive from Hand of Arsenal, who I know some people will be like, who? But he has been unbelievably reliable on Arsenal. Unbelievably reliable. I'm just going to share my screen so you can all see what I'm looking at. This dropped. We were going to do another kind of, we're going to do sort of everyone who's linked to Arsenal essentially, but news takes precedent. Exclusive. Arsenal have made Rodrygo their number one target this summer. We can exclusively reveal the recruitment team at Arsenal are in unanimous agreement that Rodrygo Gosh, definitely not how you say it, is a player who could be the difference in the hunt for major silverware. Several key figures at Arsenal have spoken to Rodrygo, including first-team players about life at Arsenal and North London. Other Premier League sides are involved and have set out their strategy to lure him, but I'm told Arsenal will present a strong financial offer if the player is placed on the market. What is the current situation? As we reported weeks ago, Rodrygo is set to have a meeting with Xabi Alonso regarding his future at Real Madrid. This meeting is yet to take place, and we can also exclusively, there's a lot of exclusives in this, exclusively reveal.
This is why it's legit.
Legit. I've said the word exclusive 5 times. This must be true. Exclusively reveal Rodrygo will try to emphasize his will to play a left-sided role. The Brazilian feels this is where he can express himself best and maximize his creative potential positionally. The Club World Cup will be a key indicator of how Rodrygo's future is settled. Real Madrid are adamant they do not want to sell Rodrygo unless the player asks for a move personally. Arsenal are willing to pull off an Ozil-esque transfer and compete with any club for the services of Rodrygo should he become available. Finally, I want to say it's a huge privilege and milestone personally to collaborate with a world-class journalist in at Rodra10_97. Thank you for everything. Very, very, very exciting.
I don't think you're on your mic, Alex.
I'm not my mic.
I don't think so. No, you're not. You're not.
Oh, I mean, it says I am.
Is it?
Yeah. I'll try again. There.
Now you are.
I hate StreamYard, by the way.
Same.
Genuinely, the reason we're late, I would say 85% of the time is me. But the 15%, the 15% is StreamYard. Yeah. Hate it. Thank you for telling me that. Otherwise, I would have listened back and been annoyed. Sorry, I had to hear that through headphones, but there you go. We are also going to get George on to have a little discussion of this, but we're having tech issues with him as well. First, it's just an absolute disaster, really. Thank you for joining us. We'll get to your comments and so on and so forth. Rohan, as this news breaks, give me your thoughts, your initial feelings.
It's a cheeky bit of dopamine. It's not like full dopamine because it's like, all right, something's happening, but it's need a bit more. Like
more dopamine.
I want a bit more dopamine. Maybe when Ornstein drops the bomb, but that's when you let proper load in. Because I was actually saying earlier this week, I actually think I've got a lot of hate for this. And again, it's straw man arguments on X. Full of straw man arguments. You say something, and then what people do.
Whatever. Get off X. Carry on. Who cares?
Yeah,
stop complaining about X.
It annoys me so much. I just don't react to it, but it does annoy me. But yeah, I actually felt the left wing and the centre forward market in general, in terms of like guaranteed hits, is quite underwhelming. Personally, in both positions, and I think with Rodrygo, that for me is someone in which gives you close to a guaranteed hit if you facilitate it. That's where I stand on it. And this is very exciting because like I said, I think the market doesn't look great personally, but I've also been of the opinion in which I am okay with changing certain dynamics if the talent warrants it.
Mm-hmm.
And someone like Rodrygo would certainly do that, because I think when we look at the current version of Arsenal in terms of that left wing role, if you simply just put Rodrygo in there and keep everything as it was, you're not maximizing the skill set of a guy who has world class abilities. So it requires a change. But that change is warranted for someone like Rodrygo, and I'm very for that. So that's my initial thoughts. Yep. I think it's really good intent.
I actually slightly disagree with you on the market thing, because I actually agree with on the centre forward market in terms of realistically. I think the sixth outside of maybe the Joao Pedros and the Reteguis, whatever his name was, the guy on the Atalanta guy.
All right.
How do you say it? Retegui? Anyway.
I don't know.
The 6 main targets are basically Šeško, Gyökeres, Isak, Osimhen, Watkins, and Ekitike. Isak's off the table. Osimhen doesn't seem to be on the table. There's basically 4 options. Like the actual market, I don't think is particularly good. For me, the left wing market, in terms of options and availability, like with just in terms of numbers, because I can, Leao, Coman, Sane, Rodrygo. But then the question is always comes back to, do you actually rate those talents? Do you think they are generational, like changing?
Exactly.
Changing. Like what I see the left wing market as is there's more options in it, but then you have to come to the sort of the quality side. Yeah. But just returning to Rodrygo. In terms of the message, like let's start there, and we'll come to the player in a second. We're just waiting for George to come to the stream in a second. This is exactly the sort of player that I hoped Arsenal would be in for. I think people have been talking about the messages of someone like a Lautaro Martinez at centre forward, and you just don't think that Arsenal. I didn't think Arsenal would be going in for this sort of player, and I think as a statement of intent, not that it matters that much, but for fans to feel comfortable and confident going to next season, I think this is. Just from that perspective, really exciting.
Yeah, I actually think it's very important when you consider the fact that what Liverpool are trying to do as well. I think these things matter. Regardless of whether you think they are going to be overpaying for Florian Wirtz, that is a sign of intent of a team that has just won the Premier League and they're looking to cement their place there, whilst also facilitating that with the players that they're bringing at fullback. That's intention. And now when you look at, for me, Alex, we could talk about this. I've been doing a lot of research and watching games of Nico Williams, and my perception and opinion of him has changed quite a lot after watching games back fully. And this is why I go back to the conversation of left wing, where there are options, mate. There are options at centre forward, there are options at left wing. But in terms of guaranteed hits, right, that we have no significant caveats, I see a lot of flaws in a lot of these players. But someone like Rodrygo, like I said, it's not, again, a player who fits like a glove immediately, but it's a player who you make sure it fits like a glove because he is that good and it can allow Arsenal to get to that next level. And when we talk about our left-hand side, right, that for me is the driver of when we're talking about where can Arsenal make their best collective improvements. It is the left-hand side. Since 22-23, that side of the pitch, and teams have recognised it was that, whereas I've alluded to the tactical homogeneity that teams have implemented through our right-hand side being a lot more aggressive, it leaves the left-hand side with more space, and we've not maximised it, and we need to address it. And someone like Rodrygo, that talent and the transferable qualities in terms of things we lack, in terms of the pace in behind, in terms of the ball striking, these are things that we need, players who can shoot on sight by creating separation from a standstart. He fits everything there in terms of just qualities, and then it's about how you mould it and how you can kind of really unlock him, because we do need to change that, and that's a wider discussion.
Yeah, I think the left-hand side point is a really good one, because I think the difficulties we've had there, we can go back and consistently over a long period of time now, we can say, no matter what you think of Arsenal and various other things, the left-hand side is, how long have we had the conversation about maximizing the left-hand side? And I think the question there is it's an interesting one. We're going to try and get George in. We think we have fixed the technical issues. Yeah. Mr. George VAFC. Hello, sir. We might be having some streaming issues. You're a little bit blurry, so we'll see what we can do. George, my good man, talk to me. Rodrygo, how did you feel the news broke? Give us your initial thoughts.
I'm going to repeat something on the Scouted that's going to annoy everybody, and I'm just more excited for how this platforms are attacked than the talent itself. Yeah, I think it fundamentally guarantees a change in terms of how we're going to coordinate this attack, how we have to make it work. I don't believe that that you buy this type of player and you buy a Ferrari only to put it in the garage for most of the year and then break it out, in the summer. So I'm more excited about those things, to be honest with you, mate. And I feel as though there is a window in which I can see Rodrygo being in it, where I can say Arsenal are favorites for the Premier League and the Champions League. So that gets me excited. I do want to reiterate, though, this is a player that we will need to buy for. And the next position that just became absolute priority, if you were going to combine a Sesko with a Rodrygo, is an overlapping left back. That profile was missing in the squad. It becomes more important than a center back cover, even for me. You're looking at that becoming an absolutely vital addition to making this work. And I'll be honest, mate, like that was also an addition that you could argue that we absolutely needed even at the beginning of the summer, when you're talking about the Nuno Tavares deal that just got confirmed for £7.5 million. Then you're adding the Kieran Tierney sale, the Zinchenko going, and I would look at Kivior. I mean, if we don't have to, let's keep him. But I mean, there is room to maneuver here. And so I feel like none of this is prohibitive. All of this is something that we could have said that we wanted. And yeah, mate, like I'm excited for what this could mean for Arsenal, for sure. This is one of those that is a statement. You don't have to squint to see what the talent is with Rodrygo, but I do maintain, if you want Rodrygo in his current touchline role, then you're going to be frustrated. He'll do better than Martinelli at doing that touchline role, but he absolutely will not maximize his potential there.
Let's go back through the report, George. Just a quick suggestion: can you stop because we can hear you? It's just the camera's a bit blurry. If you go onto there should be 3 dots on your face, and it should say "Stop mic." Stop camera, and then because we can still hear you, we'll just have you face this, just because of the video is a little bit unclear. Yeah, perfect. Thank you, mate. Let's go through this just as a group, because I think there's some interesting detail in here. So we can exclusively reveal the recruitment team at Arsenal in a unanimous agreement that Rodrygo goes as a player who could be the difference in the hunt for major silverware. I mean, that even as a starting place, the fact that an entire recruitment team are in unanimous agreement, that tells you something about the level of the talent here, which is really exciting. Several key figures at Arsenal have spoken to Rodrygo, including first-team players, about life at Arsenal and in North London. Rohan, I think this is maybe a point with Rodrygo in terms of a cultural and sort of community fit. Let's see what happens by the end of the summer. But Gabriel Martinelli, Gabriel, who we'll come to a little bit later on, Gabriel Jesus, every other Gabby, Igor Pacheco, whoever we were linked to today. But the Brazilian connection, I think, is something that, especially for, not to speak out of turn, but I think especially for Brazilian players, there's something in that. I think that could be an important aspect of this. If he's looking at Man City and he's looking at Arsenal, he's seeing a lot of the guys he knows from the national team, etc., at the club, enjoying it, playing big roles, being key figures in the dressing room. I think that's a pro, certainly for us.
Yeah, and I think for me personally, when you look at the options that other teams have in the wide roles, now I'd say Rodrygo starts hands down for Manchester City. But when you consider Arsenal, at the left wing position there, as we alluded to, it can be molded, and it should be molded to facilitate Rodrygo. It's there for him to take and for him to immediately showcase his qualities. And I do think someone like Mikel as well, it's a match made in heaven in terms of a coach who can actually improve the weaknesses that he has within his game. I feel like with Rodrygo, I do want to watch more of it, because I don't know about you, but when you feel you've watched this player so many times, but because you're watching it more relaxed and just watching the entire team, you don't really focus on the ins and outs of their actual weaknesses.
Well, Rohan,
yeah, here we go.
If only there was a scouted episode out which you could watch.
Where you could find that.
What do you find that? We probably will. If these links get stronger, I'm sick of people saying it's a random ITK on Twitter. Hand of Arsenal is incredibly reliable, and it's also with another authenticated journalist. So I don't think this is just a random report on Twitter.
Yeah.
So yeah, if this gets stronger, if we hear more, I think we're basically waiting for this meeting. So let's talk about that. What's the current situation? As we reported weeks ago, Rodrygo is set to have a meeting with Xabi Alonso regarding his future role at Real Madrid. This meeting is yet to take place, and we can also exclusively reveal Rodrygo will try to emphasize his will to play a left-sided role. The Brazilian feels this is where he can express himself best and maximize his creative potential positionally. George, I think this is something that we looked at on the Scouted, absolutely, in terms of where he can best sort of cutting from outside to in on that sort of second striker role. I think maybe something to talk about. But also, I mean, I'll bring it up as we're talking. Ain't no way this guy's playing on the left. Vinny Jr. and Mbappe. Mbappe obviously is a number 9. That I'm telling you, I'll get their heat maps up. There is no way this guy's playing on the left. So that conversation, I think, is going to head one way. But yeah, George, your thoughts on maybe just that little bit?
Well, I think when you're looking at creative potential, something that I've been really peddling the last couple days is if we're really having a look at our squad in general, the idea that Trossard, who currently is on 90K a week, but in talks, quote, air quote. By the way, I'm quoting air quotes with my fingers, in talks for extension. I don't know how much I believe with that. But even if you were to take him at 90K and then Jesus at 265K, are we really saying that the second striker role needs to be invested with over 325K a week on Arsenal's wage bill right now? That's a good use of resources. I'm not sure I buy that. And Rodrygo, for me, makes them even more redundant. And there's a future plan there, and Rodrygo does both of the things that we like about those players to a completely different level. It absolutely changes the potential. Having somebody like Rodrygo work off of a reference center forward, it would make movies. As I said on The Scouted, I really think that the creative potential, technically, Rodrygo's one of, if not the best technical player at Madrid. Like technically, pure technique wise, we're talking about the raising that it would do from this technical floor of our attacking unit is crazy. But I maintain like the creative potential of some of the quick feints that he can do, the ability in tight spaces, and being able to find solutions in central areas. All of those mean that he has to be in a central area, right? And so in order to promote those things, I just want to reiterate, if we're going to see the exact same role that Arsenal and Mikel is going to do, you're not going to see all of these really flashy, exciting things. I think you will see it again to a better degree because the dribbling potential of Rodrygo is far beyond anything that we have in the squad, just period, including Saka, by the way. Like, he walks in as the most competent dribbler, but this is a guy that you can push out of games. We saw it. We did it to him. And it wasn't just because he was on the right wing. This is a guy that if you keep him on the touchline, especially with the way that the Premier League likes to defend, he can physically be pushed on the peripheral of a game. However, if you're going to get him inside, you're going to get him free to move inside. This is a player that can devastate. This is a player that can be a game breaker in that specific scenario. And that's why I'm so excited, guys, because not just with the Rodrygo, but Mikel's entire window, if you want to talk about it from a bird's eye perspective, is exactly this. Zubimendi and Declan Rice really challenges the current Odegaard role. Rodrygo really challenges the current touchline role. If you really want to blow up this window in general, and you're saying you're one of those saying that I'm really frustrated with Mikel, who's been stubborn and not been open to change, which, by the way, I think are valid concerns, you can't look at this window and say he is not open to change. And by the way, what's funny, last point I'll make, Pep has been doing this, by the way. Look at his window. His window is crazy different to what he's normally done. There's been a huge emphasis on fullback change. Arne Slot, another one. Full emphasis on fullbacks being brought in high and wide, both sides, major change to their system. Every single major coach has gone through an entire philosophy change in the current kind of market of who is going to be bought. And I, for one, find that much more exciting than some of the talent parts. So that's what I love about this signing.
Yeah. And just to quickly add on that as well, like going back to the usage of the left winger, right? I think we've got a very good game from last season in terms of what Rodrygo could do when you alter the left-hand side. Liverpool away at Anfield, the ideas of what we did with Martinelli and the intentions in terms of keeping Salah high is what Liverpool look to do. And that has profound impacts in terms of the positive application that it gives to Liverpool in an attacking sense, but it allows you to exploit that defensively, because they're leaving Salah high. And one of my frustrations has been this season is where Declan Rice is always the one making the run beyond the last line. it doesn't always need to be Declan Rice. It can be our left winger starting wide and then coming inside. We don't do enough of these diagonal out to in movements and playing that ball over the top. And Martinelli was doing it time and time again. Now, you imagine, right, what was happening is they're keeping Salah high, then they've got Gravenberch, and they've got Konate, and they've got the fullback there, which was Conor Bradley at the time. Mikel Merino pulls wide. It creates a dilemma for Gravenberch, and then Trossard peels deeper, but cheats towards the left-hand side to drag Konate, and then Martinelli exploits that space in behind. That is perfect for someone like Rodrygo, and that isn't just exclusive to games against Liverpool. Most teams in the league start higher because they want to squeeze the middle of the park. So it opens up that possibility, and that's where I think the change that I'd like to see from Mikel, and we mentioned it in the main pod in terms of player usage, I don't want Declan Rice to be the guy always making that run. I'd like my left winger to be able to make that run because he can be more potent being a forward and what he can do when he gets into the final third and exploits that space. And I think that's a really good game to kind of see what a Rodrygo could do in those scenarios.
I think just to pick up on a couple of things that have been said, I think not to ruin the scouted, but a lot of the thing in the scouted for me was about, okay, what's the level of talent that you're willing to start to buy other pieces, as George would put it, or as you're sort of alluding to there, Rohan? Like, what's the level of talent where you would start to say, okay, I'm going to platform this guy because he's worth it. This is it for me. Like this has been my point on Martinelli. It's like has always been. I get it. I do get it. He could be used better, but why? Like, I don't see that level of ability. For me, with Rodrygo, he can do anything with a football, and that's why it's so exciting. And just to come to his final point here, Arsenal are willing to pull off an Ozil-esque transfer and compete with any club for the services of Rodrygo should it become available. This is where the be excited, we intend to right the wrongs of this season, whatever Josh said in his, like, this is the point. And I don't want to get too, this hasn't been written by Josh Kroenke, so we need to be careful. But what I want to see with Arsenal is if they are in for Rodrygo, if Rodrygo does move this summer, and we don't put up an incredible fight as far as we can tell from reports, that kind of tells you, like, these are the sorts of transfers where you have to kind of put your money where your mouth is, both literally and metaphorically. And this is the sort of thing, and a statement signing that says, Mikel, we trust you to say where we want to be. Like, I don't want to over egg the statement part of it, but when you read sort of signs like this, like it can really help helping move into next season as a message for the club, and to show the board, from the board's perspective, that they've learned something from these last couple of seasons. So it's a really exciting one. Yes, really good. George, we'll finish with you with this last couple of bits. We did a scouted, obviously, so you can go check that out on, I think we did it a couple of weeks ago. You mentioned it sort of a little bit in terms of how he can be pushed off the ball a touch. Are there any other concerns you have in Rodrygo's game?
I have a lot of physical concerns with him in terms of how he's going to be defended against in the Premier League. And I think most of my concerns come from, when you looked at with that scouted, by the way, and you have a look about how he deals with contact, especially from behind and pressure from behind. He can ironically have his touch a little bit loose, like, especially when you see a lot of those clips. Like, he's so technical, but when he does get hit from behind, his technique goes a bit and his game goes a bit.
I might need a seminar on that this summer with another signing.
Yeah. So, and the irony is the combination of the two forwards both lack that, like, specific skill. And so it's going to be something that we look at. Now the thing is, mate, like, everybody has a con, though. I don't look at a single player, even my favorite player in Bradley Barcola. I can sit there and draw up a con list for you of things that I feel he needs to work on. So there's none of this is ridiculous. I think fundamentally you need to see whether or not the best version of a talent is worth building towards. That's something that I think I look towards, and Rodrygo fits that bill from a talent perspective. Beyond that, I think he's got a phenomenal mentality. I think he's a very humble superstar. And so one thing is that despite him having things to work on in that physicality sense, I think that he's the exact type of mentality and type of person that Mikel would like to recruit. We're looking at a pre-prime player, guys, 24 years of age, on a Madrid side who has never platformed him, never been able to really have the stage to explore his talents fully. And the fact that he's 24 and having been on the biggest stages, this guy's a Champions League killer, by the way. Like, in terms of some of the biggest things that you can say with Rodrygo, his record in the Champions League and against the biggest sides is elite. Why? I think there's a little bit more space in those games. They are a lot more transitional. So when you're talking about him struggling in a physicality sense out wide, those games are more stretched. So they're less likely to deal with those situations. But when you're looking at how he can maybe solve some low block situations, a lot of this stuff has to be with Mikel being willing to be more open to particular roles. And by the way, that same thing has to happen with Zubimendi. Like, a lot of people are kind of looking at this, and when I say that we may have to change the attacking role, people go, well, we know Arsenal and we know Mikel, and why did he do this with Martinelli? Guys, fundamentally, Zubimendi categorically means the midfield you saw is going to be different. You cannot have Martin Odegaard and Zubimendi doing the same role. You just can't. It will be a different role. So if we can envision that in the midfield, we certainly can envision that in attack. And I think that, for me, is going to be the biggest pro, because most of these things about Rodrygo, unfortunately, on the physical sense, we can work on some of the technique in terms of building a strong base and balance and being able to transfer weight a little bit, but he's never going to be Semenyo. He's never going to be somebody that is going to bully his way through, and he shouldn't. We should play to his strengths, and we should play to a way that is able to maximize him and not just put him in a role that we feel the system needs. The system shouldn't be the king here. It should be the players. And I'm interested to see whether or not Mikel feels that way as well. But this is a humble superstar that I feel will work within this team, will work within those coaching parameters, and will do the hard yards to make that work. So that's why I am excited from that perspective.
Yeah, he's got that harrying quality, as we've discussed in the scout as well. George, thank you so much. And you have to shoot off. Sorry not to see your beautiful face.
I'm sorry, guys. Sorry, I don't know what's happened. My internet has been crazy, but thank you so much, and all the best in your further stream here.
Thanks. Very formal. Love you, mate. In a bit. Bye. All the best.
On your formal stream.
On your stream. Love you, George. Good stuff. Yeah, I think, look, it's a really exciting. I don't want to go too far on this. We've got some other stuff to discuss. We'll discuss a little bit more, but we'll come to some super chats in a second and do a little bit more. But yeah, mate, it's also just really, as I say, just really exciting that we're in for these sorts of players. Like, it's the sort of thing where if he's moving, I mean, how long have I said if Jude Bellingham is available, I want to be not necessarily the destination, but I want Arsenal to be in the conversation. If Harry Kane is moving, obviously a different situation, but you know, whoever it is, if someone is moving, I want Arsenal to be involved, and that is like, this is the perfect example.
Well, this is it, and it's like, you know, Arsenal's a football club as well, and from a fan perspective, we need to be comfortable with the idea of giving big wages. You know, absolutely is something very important and what the big clubs always do, right? But at the same time, that money needs to go to the right players, you know, as well. You know, and this is where, like, it goes back to the Nico Williams debate of, like, a fantastic talent, but does he warrant the 300k that is reported a week for an unfinished product? No, it doesn't make sense. So and then when you look at someone like Rodrygo, he absolutely warrants the big money that you pay for someone that because of the talent. And also, I think, as George mentioned it, you know, I think we're starting to see like this change of these big superstar players kind of squash their ego. I'm not saying Rodrygo has them, but like, for example, Ousmane Dembele, what he's done post-January onwards in terms of this false nine arc and, you know, putting his ego to one side and doing what is demanded from the team as a collective, whilst also being able to showcase your qualities. You know, for me, that gives me, I recognize that a lot more. You know, like, you have the talent, you have the quality, but are you able to do the hard yards off the ball? You know, and Rodrygo has always been able to do that. You know, he's always been willing to do that. He's the person who is always shoehorned into different positions that are more unfavorable to him while still delivering the output. And this is where it's
for club and country, by the way.
For club and country. And it goes on to your point about, you know, Mbappe being there, Vinicius being in there. You know, he's way down the pecking order. And also, I think what I love about Rodrygo, it's like, you know, we always talk about versatility. And sometimes you need specialists, players who will give you world-class ability in a specific role. Rodrygo can do that at Arsenal whilst also giving us the versatility. You know, he kills two birds with one stone there. You know, and that for me, like the whole idea of Rodrygo makes so much sense. You know, in terms of transferable qualities on the ball, off the ball, in terms of, you know, in the event of injuries, being able to fill in different roles. It makes so much sense. And we just have to be in the conversation.
We have to be. And yeah, it sort of, one of the big things this transfer window for me was, I think alongside Zubimendi forget Zubimendi, in the forward areas, we had to sign one person who is a sure thing.
Yeah.
Sure thing. Like someone who just comes in and we know exactly what they're going to be. And, you know, I've loved that to be a win now type player. If that had ended up being more of like an Ollie Watkins, I might have been able to stomach it alongside other things. But this just being a surefire, Rodrygo comes in and he's going to be one of the most technical players on our team. He's going to be one of the quickest players on our team. He's going to be one of the most, like, you know, experienced in terms of the winning stuff in our team. He comes in and he's straight away is that. It helps me with the Šeško thing. I mean, my thing with Šeško has been, as we spoke about last week, on its own, it's a brilliant transfer. In the context of Arsenal's window, I have a few more concerns. But now this, which is why I paired them together, and I went like, this is great.
I spoke about this with Faisal actually yesterday. Faisal's in the chat as well, where, you know,
Faisal.
like Zubimendi, you know, it's a fantastic player that fits perfectly into this team that offers qualities we lack. Šeško coming in again. A fantastic talent. You look at the upside, you look at the fact that you can impact the game now. Fantastic signing in isolation, right? But then as a collective, it's not something that excites Arsenal fans, especially with what has happened and the lack of investment in forward areas. But then when you bring someone like Rodrygo, a fantastic player in isolation, but then now as a collective, it starts to get a lot more exciting, you know, and
Latte Firm Faisal, go subscribe to Latte Firm. Rodrygo will be the best left winger in the Premier League. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Bulishan says, Alec Boss, I have a player for you. I'm very excited to. Let me tell you about Nico Raskin. Hang on. Is this one of those? I don't want to be caught out.
No, I don't think.
Nico Raskin plays for Rangers and he's 24. I've never heard of him in my life.
Hey. Speaking of Rangers, Alex.
Oh, here we go.
yes.
So, people who are familiar with Cannon will know that, well, certainly Rohan, but Rohan and I have this theory about managers. Go on.
Yeah. We saw it with Vincent Kompany, and the sample size is increasing, and it will keep increasing. What they will do is,
tank,
to the detriment of the team that they're at right now, they will continue to implement the philosophy and the games this is where it's all about the tactical homogeneity of football in general. And why some people tend to find it boring, because you're seeing a lot of similar matches, 4-2-4s, similar sequences, etc. And Vincent Kompany was doing that at Burnley with absolute pony players, like rubbish, kept doing it. They kept getting battered, and he lands a job at Bayern. Again, what did Pep say? I think Man City beat Southampton 1-0 at the Etihad. And he was like, some of the things Russell Martin does in terms of certain patterns, I've not seen it before. So good. And actually at the Emirates as well, I was saying, it's like, some of the things they're doing, I like the idea. Yeah. They can't implement it because the players are just rubbish. You know. And again, you're landing a top job. So.
And did you know Will Still used to play Football Manager? Yeah, it's I like, the thing is, like, it actually works, by the way. Yeah. Like, it's objectively working. Vincent Kompany's gone and won a Bundesliga, so fair play to him. It's just a funny trend, isn't it? Like, managers get into the Premier League playing, ridiculous football.
Playing tactico football.
Yeah, exactly. Technicolor says, Will, hello. As Alex's editor, I can exclusively reveal that Alex is, in fact, on Arsenal's payroll, and he personally convinced Berta to sign Rodrygo. Listen, I prefer not to speak, but all I'm saying is, last Thursday, and also I put out a Benjamin Šeško video, and no one's denied that. So maybe they're allowing me to land and let the video cook a little bit before, denying it or confirming it. They're allowed half an hour before every TCP live. They give us a bit of transfer news. Look.
So do you know, like before, right? Before there was always this thing where Arsenal would like announce players on Friday. They'd always do it. Announce players on Friday. Yeah. Are they dropping bombers?
Bombers on Thursday evenings.
On Thursday evenings.
For me and Rohan to chat shit about.
They need some they've got content ideas, but they need proper
content. Yeah. They're doing Anthony Gordon scouted based off one line in an Athletic article. Come on, give him something. Gabby20399 says, Rodrygo, who? We got Raz Sterling. There was a line in the Athletics deal sheet thing, which was like, Raheem Sterling hasn't yet been confirmed, hasn't yet been told that he's leaving the club. And I was like, don't do this. don't do this.
Okay,
Please
right.
don't do this.
So my brother was saying, worst Arsenal signing ever that he's seen. And it's not even a signing, it's a loan.
Sterling.
And also, yeah, Sterling. He's saying the worst ever.
It is up there. Like, it is up there.
Not gonna lie. The only thing that makes it kind of bearable is the fact that we didn't pay much of his wage and we weren't like, like committed to it. But performance-wise, performance-wise though, it is definitely
£100,000 a week. That's what we were paying him, I think. Splitting between Chelsea, like 100.
Yeah, that is a lot still as well.
Do you know what I mean? For that. Absolutely crazy. Thank you for super chat. Andre says, this transfer saga reminds me so much of Sanchez. Yeah, and look, you'd love to be on the Madrid level of the Bayern, but that's a 20-year project, right? Like, what we can do in the short term is make sure when the players are on the move, we're the ones in the conversation. So, yeah, I buy that. Izzy, Rashford, now we're talking.
Oh, get off the Rashford.
But okay, on the left wing thing, just back to my point earlier, like I could give you 15 names, not 15 perfect names, but 15 names. With the centre forwards, I've got like 3 or 4 who I think are available. That's my point about the left wing side.
Do you know what it is as well? It's like I was talking to someone else yesterday, and again, it goes back to how you view it. Where like, are you so insistent on bringing in a left winger that is stylistically suited to the way that Arsenal use a left winger now? Like, should that be the only type of player you go for? And I'm like, no, we shouldn't. We should be going for what is the best talent out there and transferring it in a way that allows it to become the player that we believe he can be and the potential, right? And like as George alluded to, and I mention it all the time, quality is the biggest driver. It is though, Alex, isn't it? Like players, it is the biggest driver. If you do not have the best players, you're not going to do anything. So you change the dynamics, you can maintain the principles still, but what you do have is you've got the players who can take you to that next level. And
is it not
I actually
preeminent?
find it's preeminent. I can't believe I was pronouncing that wrong. You know, like so annoyed.
But I thought quality was the preeminent driver.
It is. Yes.
Okay, it is. Just checking. Just have to check. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, look, Rashford's wage demands are crazy, but I have to say, £40 million for Rashford. Forget the wages. Just forget the wages. I know. Forget the wages. Forget the wages. Forget the wages. £40 million for Rashford. If I was him, I'd be saying to him, just drop your wages. I don't like Sancho as well. They're so badly advised, bro. If you perform for 6 months, you'll get a new deal. You know what I mean? These guys are so. Go to the best club. Just say, I'll literally take a 50 grand a week at Arsenal. Don't say that. Be serious. But you know, like if Arsenal would be in for you, and a club is willing to sell you for £40 million, and you're as good as you are, if I'm advising them, I'd say, look, I know in the short term you've got a short earnings potential. I get that, but go to a better club on less wages. Within 6 months, you'll be talking about a new deal if you perform. You will. Of course you will. And also, you're not exactly on poverty wages. Oh, it's only £200,000 a week. How will I survive?
I find that really interesting as well, isn't it? It's like, is it just footballers because they've had it very easy in that sense financially that they don't look at it from our perspective? They don't look at it that, you know.
No, I get it, and also
it's
a job. Like I do get it, but I think from a football, but just speaking as a pure football fan, I don't get it personally.
I tell you what, though, Aston Villa, there's a few players there I'm looking at thinking,
mate, and their situation. We'll talk about it later. I've got some data on I've got some PSR data to discuss on TCP Live. Pathfinder, thoughts on Mitoma?
Class player, like genuine class.
90 million,
but absolutely not. No, not for us. Didn't he do a thesis on dribbling as well?
Oh, you'd love him then.
How do you do a thesis on dribbling?
Sign him just for that. you and Thiago Motta in a room.
Oh God. Hey, speaking of Thiago Motta, I've just seen that news about the that Juventus. scout.
Yeah, we'll discuss that as well. Yeah, later. Obviously very good dribbler. Not worth £90 million. I don't watch him. Whenever I watch him, I don't go like, get this guy to my club. Like, he's obviously capable of great moments, but I don't think he's consistent enough for me. He's the sort of player who pops up whenever he does something, and everyone goes, brilliant. But for most of the season, I don't know his numbers.
I personally think he's more of the Grealish mold, though, as well. And I just don't think for what we need.
28 as well.
Yeah.
Nearly dead.
90 million. 90 million is crazy as well.
Mikhail Jaffa, how would you guys rank the last 5 seasons in terms of how much you'd want to see an all or nothing series on them? Genuinely, and they would never do it. But if I could see what happened last season with the summer transfer window and the January transfer window, I'd be fascinated.
Yeah.
So I'd say last season first. 22-23, I'd be up for seeing. Maybe that goes second. Sorry, 22-23.
I'd like to see this season because of what's happened with the turbulence and like how the players were post game and the reaction. Like there was a lot of down moments this season, weren't there? Especially on the back of 2 really, really strong seasons.
And the Champions League run as well would have been cool to see.
Yeah. What would be the worst season, like just to not watch? I'd say probably
like 2021, something like that.
Yeah. 2021.
I don't know. What do you guys think? Rank them. I would go. Stat Muse, Kevin. I would probably go last season.
Yeah, I'd go last
22-23. 23-24, I think it would be interesting to see just because of like the run at the end of the season, like how we did that, basically, how we got everyone fit as well. And then probably 21-22 and 20-21.
Especially last season as well with the reaction post Everton, like in the dressing room. Wonder what it would have felt like because that was when it was confirmed seed, wasn't it? So
that would have been interesting.
Yeah, and also like 22-23, I would have loved to have seen the reactions like after because remember, like we went from a team that was competing for Champions League football, in which we weren't able to get over the line, to then fast tracking to the title, like competing for the title. So I wonder what, like, was it shock? Was it? I don't think it was shock. I think they knew that how good they were, but
yeah. Bulishan, George's internet, bombastic, historic, generational, all-time, horrific, atrocious, appalling, dreadful, stinker, and hooked.
Wonder what this is reference to. I have to say though, that is quite funny, when he does. I think it's hilarious.
And the what phase meme, it's really funny.
Yeah, it is.
It's objectively really funny. Like it'll be like, what phase is Sharky from SDS in because he got in top 4 on the Baller League or whatever. Yeah. It's objectively really funny. It's all right. We could admit that. Thank you for the money, Bulishan, because that will hopefully pay for George's internet. We'll see. O'Malley says transform Morgan Rogers into a left wing. Yeah, thoughts on Morgan Rogers. I pull up some numbers.
I'm a big fan of Morgan Rogers. I was talking to Faiz about that yesterday as well. He actually really, really wants Rogers to be like that midfield, like attacking midfield side.
Yeah, Faisal. I was on Faisal's thing the other day, and he was talking about like that. He wants like a proper number 10 type.
I think it's because I think he was alluding to the fact that we all envisage Miles making that transition eventually into midfield, playing higher up and being able to do that for us. But it's kind of like the reliance on Miles at the age that he is at. Is that wise? And I think this team needs more carriers for sure.
We need more carriers. My only thing is, I think because of the way he carries, because it's the power, it's like the power in the stride and the fact that he doesn't get knocked off the ball. It's more effective centrally. I know what people mean about left wingers, but because you come up against less contact, you take out less players out of the game. So for me, it's slightly less effective. But I mean, in terms of his numbers there against central attacking midfielders, look, Rogers is really good. Is it still in 22? The situation with actually, maybe this is a good point too, because I was going to come to this later. Maybe we should do that anyway. So I saw these numbers from the Athletic about PSR, which I thought were really interesting. Villa are in a tight spot, man. Yeah, they're in a really tight spot. Let me just get these numbers up. And I look at them and I look at Onana as that sort of leggy player in the midfield. I look at Watkins. I look at Tielemans. They never sell us Tielemans. I look at quite a few of their players. And I just go...
Okay. It's one I'd look at outside of Watkins. And, we are struggling at I'd say, we need a Saliba insurance policy or to be able to manage his workload. I'd like to look at Konsa,
Yeah,
but,
Konsa.
But I don't know. I think that would be very difficult to do. But
here it is. So
Konsa would be.
The Athletic basically they have a new financial writer called Chris Weatherspoon. What a great name. Chris Weather. You should be like a 1960s detective. Do you know what I mean? It's Chris Weatherspoon here. And or like a weatherman. Chris Weatherspoon with the weather. Haha. Anyway, so this
on your own.
Anyway, guys. So this is the Premier League. They're basically predictions around the PSR positions for this summer, in 24-25. So this goes back over the lot. You probably can't read the small print on the text there, so I'll try and quickly put it into context. I'm sure people know, but you're allowed to make £105 million worth of losses over the course of 3 years. So it's currently 22-23. When we go into next season, it'll obviously be 23-24 onwards, etc. Chelsea are top with 300 million, say from PSR breach. I'm sorry.
What?
I'm sorry. That's some witchcraft. I've no idea what's going on there. Brighton, I understand because they've got some big sales, like I say, 150 million pounds. City is crazy at third, by the way. Considering like they've four Premier Leagues out of 5 or 6 out of 8 or something at this point. It's crazy that they're so well run. They are such a well run club. Okay, maybe we can go back and look at what they did before, but in terms of like the getting their squad to the point they have, like even if they have pushed some sponsorship rules or whatever, allegedly, they are still really well run.
Are we being gaslit here though in terms of like some of these numbers here with Chelsea though? Like
with Chelsea, I'm sorry, that can't be fair.
How does that even? They've done something. I know. Yeah, I know.
They've sold a hotel or something.
Yeah, sold a hotel.
They sold a hotel. Spurs as well. Fair play to them. And then it's United with 141 million pounds worth of headroom, and then Arsenal in where are we? 6th. You'll never sing that. But if you look right down at the bottom in terms of at risk, you've got Aston Villa with only 15 million pounds worth of PSR headroom. And that is something I really, really want us to have a look at because they have some top players who aren't playing in the Champions League, players who I think we need. And I think Morgan Rogers, to go back to O'Malley's point, is a good one.
Yep. And I think for me, like, I look at Aston Villa and, the Tielemans thing is interesting because I actually feel like for me, like he was a player I wasn't particularly keen on before, but then after watching him more closely at Villa, he's fantastic. But we've got Zubimendi, so it kind of negates the need of a Tielemans type, in my opinion. When I'm looking at Rodgers, I'll maintain it. I get a lot of stick for it. I think Ollie Watkins is a top player. And I actually think Konsa as well, in terms of, being able to manage the workload of someone like Saliba, which I think is a very important thing that we do need to address. I know people don't want to talk about it because there needs to be that profound emphasis on the forward line. But we need to be able to manage the best players that we have right now who are key to taking us closer to our goals. And that's why I think, Aston Villa were the ones which, it was always spoke about that they needed to get Champions League football to not be in this really difficult situation. And here they are now.
They really gambled.
Yeah.
So people take issue with my City comment. To be fair, okay, let's say they were horrifically run. Let's say they did everything. That was only till 2018. They've still like the Chargers are only up to 2018. Like they are even if they've done that, I think they're really well run.
But that's like the hardest part of being able to get into the position, to be able to run yourself. That's without that you aren't able to.
Bro, if you look at their recruitment, you look at their academy sales, you look at their women's team. Like I'm sorry, like. They've got themselves into that position potentially, allegedly, unfairly, and if they have done it, then fair. I'm not saying anything. I still think they're really well run. Marino scored, lovely.
Did they? Okay. Oh, we're missing the game, aren't we?
Spain. The game. What's the point?
And Nico Williams has scored as well.
Get him in. Locals says, do you guys think we need a third forward to come in?
I just don't think it. I don't know how that happens. Like, there's been a lot of talk about third forward. I just don't know a scenario in which that happens unless you sell 2 of Martinelli.
I think you'd have to have a sale. I can't see This is a Martinelli sale. And to be honest, if we sign Šeško and Rodrygo and Zubamendi, and then we'd probably have to sign a left back as well, as George was going to talk about, and it would have to be a proper
and we
one.
need a right centre back / right back.
And I still think we need legs. I can't see and a second goalkeeper. Although there is some links to Kepa for 5 million.
Yeah, but the wages are crazy though.
But as an overall financial package,
possibly, yeah. I tell you what though, if I was thinking about that. Kepa is your second choice.
It's pretty good.
I think it is
consider Madrid and so on, like how close that. Like he's a properly good goalkeeper, mate.
Yeah, second choice. Remember, second choice.
Yeah, second choice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think probably only if we make a sale. Danji says for me, Danji, member for 23 months. Thank you, Dan.
What a legend.
My guy. For me, our new left winger has to be able to play right wing too. Yeah.
Not for me personally, because I like I've said, I've said it many.
Most players can.
It's an ideal. I mean, most players who are right-footed can play right wing, and
most wingers can go both sides if they need to.
Yeah. But I think for me, like. This is where the whole Ethan conversation comes into it. Ethan Nwaneri is an interior by trade, and the idea needs to allow him to showcase that unstoppable quality that he has, right? You can do that at right wing as well, being Bukayo Saka's understudy. It's about favouring the dynamics to allow him to continually find situations in those areas. And that's why I think for me, it's not an absolute need for me now in terms of the left winger being a right wing. But this is where Rodrygo ticks so many boxes because I think there's a lot of potential as that Jesus false 9 type as well.
Yeah.
In terms of our ability to win those short-sided games in which, playing intricate 1-2s with Zubamendi as well, I think our game goes up a notch there with Rodrygo. There's so many things he offers.
I think so. And again, the versatility, which Mikel will like. Oliver Monk says, if we go through with no major injuries next season, are we winning the league with only Šeško and Zubamendi coming in as new signings? I don't think we put those two.
But the thing is, Alex, it's like I said, I've maintained that I think we're very close, and that's why I'm not overly annoyed by the summer window previously. I know I sit in the minority there. It's the winter market that annoyed me significantly more because I felt that Arsenal were not that far away. Good luck health-wise, and we would have been there. I'm adamant of it. So if I'm consistent with my feelings that I still have right now, I think we'd be very, very close. If you're giving me the guarantee that Arsenal are staying healthy, like the key players are staying healthy.
I think we'd be very, very close. I would just have that feeling in my stomach of like, oh, I'm not sure.
But it's like, why leave ourselves in that situation?
Yeah, I would say no, but it would be very, very close. So I just think if you get a Rodrygo or something over the line, it also depends what we do. Like, for example, if you say if only coming as new signings, if you're saying like coming in as major signings, but we also do, let's say, I don't know, Agume and Hato, and you get a couple of other sort of squad players, I would probably say it. But we need that lift. I really do feel it, and it's a lot. I will always say I'm not sure the board care about that much in terms of as a message, but as a team to have someone who's ready-made, win now, do it now, score now, win now. I don't know. I think it's important. Melly, Spain's second goal is exactly why we signed Zubamendi.
Ooh.
I haven't seen it, so
I'll be watching that game back on Saturday.
Someone please put it in the chat. Thank you, Melly, for super chat. And Oliver Monk also says, by the way, Marino 30+ goals next season, calling it out. Sounds like we're missing an important game.
Yeah, and you see the teams as well. It's actually a nuts lineup from both sides. Like, I think Oliver it's Doué, Dembele, and Okambo who else is. But
I saw Zubi and Marino in the midfield. So midfield next season. Oliver Monk's profile picture looks like Alex with a buzz.
I don't see that. But then again, it's the side profile, isn't it?
It's just a white man, basically. Yeah, fair enough. What I want to do for the last sort of 20, 30 minutes, because we were going to do like a proper rankings thing, but again,
Because TCP live, they're thinking, right, we've got to get
we're going to do a ranking thing. I want to come literally because we haven't done it for a while. I want to leave like the last half hour ish open to questions. So make sure you've got some questions prepped. But we've got a couple of things to come to before that. One of them was, did we all see Gabriel's Instagram story? Oh,
What?
Gabriel posted a picture of the Emirates with a heart emoji today. What does that tell us? Maybe he loves the Emirates, or maybe there is a contract signing on the way.
Massive one as well. Was it Handa Virzel as well?
What do you mean?
It was. Handa Virzel was the one who broke that news yesterday.
Potentially, yeah. But he posted it on a story today with a picture of the Emirates, which I feel like would work. Elon Musk bomber, what's going on?
Elon Musk bomber?
Oh, what's he done?
My stock's all right.
What's going on? Yeah, I don't want to get involved in this. Okay. Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, I think the Gabriel, my spidey sense, Rohan, is saying that the Gabriel thing is going to be announced soon. Isn't that exciting?
Oh god, I just saw it as well. Jeez. God,
what's happened?
No. Just I don't want to talk.
Is it a tweet?
No. I think it's Well, the inevitable was always going to happen. You'll know what I'm talking about when it's. Yeah, it's. It was always going to happen, to be honest.
Oh my goodness! I'm sorry. This isn't football, but that's crazy.
Yeah, it is, honestly. But it was always going to happen. It's.
Oh my goodness.
That will send shockwaves. That will send shockwaves.
This is slightly different. So, did you see the guy accusing me of having government? Let's just remove even the government. Someone accused me of having government connections because my podcasts do well and the Cannon podcast does well.
What did you say to me? Just gotta ignore it.
Just ignore it. I just do think it's quite funny. Anyway, we've got to move past that. That is absolutely crazy. Apologies because that's just dropped live. The other thing we didn't speak about, Rohan, was the new assistant to Andrea Berta. And I'd like a 30,000 word essay telling me exactly who. Where is he? Former Juventus head of scouting and Grenada director Mateo Tonyi is currently in advanced talks to sign at Arsenal. 30,000 words, please, on exactly his entire history, his bedroom wall colour, etc., etc. He'd be part of the team working under Andrea Berta. So Ben Mattinson said Tonyi was head of scouting at Juve and had a big part in signing the likes of Huijsen, big fan, Yildiz, Sula, Baranecchia, Illing Jr. and De Winter, good players there. Juve's youth recruitment from worldwide academies, South America, across Europe, local around Italy, etc., was so good under Tonyi. I think Athletic reported recently that what's his name, Jason Ato, was leaving. In terms of the shape of the backroom staff, what's your feelings on it currently?
It's getting interesting, isn't it? It's getting very interesting, and I don't know much about this guy, to be honest.
No, come on.
I don't know much. I just want. Not gonna lie, when I saw that link, I was like, nice. But I don't care about any of that stuff. Just get me my signings. Get me the best talent. Actually, it's interesting because I think so. There was one guy. I don't know what his name was on X who's very clued up on Juventus. And yeah, the amount of talent that he has been able to bring into Juventus, and that talent then going away, like Dean Huijsen being a very, very big example of that. Mm-hmm. You know, it's something to be excited by. And not gonna lie, I've always felt like we need to do more in terms of getting talent across Europe into the club, and that is Arsenal heritage at their peak that we've not been able to do for a very long time. And I'd really like, because I feel like, you know, as we mentioned before, it's not, you know, there's win now. Everything is hit on. It's like in our face, but we still have to future proof. Yeah, you know, we still have to do that. Yeah. You know, and I think bringing someone like this guy in, who I don't even know what his name is now, I forgot.
And something, what's his name? Tonyi. As you can tell, we really know who he is. But I think in terms of the look, I don't know him. I'll have to look more into him in terms of what he's done. But that list of players that he's been involved with is encouraging. I'm sure there's also some players he's signed that weren't as good. We have to be careful there as well. But I just think in terms of what we know, I do think that sort of undiscovered gem market. I've never felt. You know how City always after like Echeverri and players like that. I just feel like we never get involved in those sorts of conversations, and I'd love us to be involved. And if you can have someone who's below Andrea Berta looking out for that sort of next gen of players, like I'm going through the transfers, would it be fair to say, let me just actually bring up my screen, would it be fair to say that in terms of arrivals, since Martinelli, we haven't, what's going on? I won't move. For some reason, my screen is literally frozen. And so since Martinelli, we haven't really gone into that market of players who like they come through our academy. To be fair, maybe without a one area arriving or whatever it might be, that might have happened. I'm just going to try and move this to Chrome. For some reason, it isn't moving. So I would love us to do that, and if we can do that with a guy like this, I'll be really pleased.
Yeah, I mean, like the other like notable one, but this was before Mikel, and again, it was still a significant outlay at the time, was William Saliba, but that was 27 million. You know, you could argue like players such as Gabriel, diamond in the rough, but in terms of like out and out gems, like paying virtually no money at all, and then like extracting huge amounts of quality from. Martinelli's only the example that we have, and we tried it with Marquinhos, and
we tried it with Marquinhos. I'm just trying to think anyone else. I mean, someone said Timber in the chat. I think that's fair. I think Timber's pretty established Champions League player.
I mean, Tavares, you could argue we tried it with Tavares as well.
Maybe Tavares, but even I wouldn't. Yeah, maybe. Sandy, I don't think that's fair to say, and elect, but I think we were at a different point. I think now, because basically since we've been established as a consistently challenging team, like if you think about it, and I get it, like we're trying to win, right? But say since 22-23, in that season we signed Jesus, Vieira, Zinchenko, Trossard, Kivio, Jorginho, and Marquinhos, to be fair, that summer. That's probably the last one we did. But 23-24, we did Rice, Havertz, Timber, and Raya. And then this season we had Calafiori, Marino, and Raya as a permanent as well. It would be nice to sort of dip into that market because it feels that we get left behind a little bit there.
Yeah, we've gone very heavy. Like I'd say before last summer, if you went by the numbers and you look at Liverpool, Man City, and Arsenal in terms of incomings, our major area of investment in terms of where we look at is within the Premier League, and it's players who are already established in the sense of they have that experience at Premier League level, they have that experience at English club level, but we don't go for those players outside of the Premier League who are like unearthed gems in which they're just like there, it's a diamond but you can't see it, and then it requires a bit of digging, and then you've got that star, and that's what Arsenal used to do time and time again in terms of some of the talent that we were able to bring, and that was Arsenal heritage, and we've not been able to do that enough. And I've always felt like it's very important to kind of future-proof yourself.
Yeah.
And I know it's not a conversation people don't want to have because of where we are right now and the need for winning, but I still think it's important, mate. And
I do agree. And did you see this from St. Augustine? So Nottingham Forest close to agreeing deal with Botafogo for signing a Brazilian trio. That feels it's unfair to say Brazilian guy signs. That must be the reason. But I did feel with Edu, like did we ever maximize those connections and that market? I don't know. And then also this is complete like triangulation, so please don't think this is serious analysis. I'm just like posturing here. Would it be someone else? Like maybe it's I don't want to blame Tim Lewis or whoever, Richard Garlick or whoever it might be. But do you reckon there might have been someone else who's kind of saying, actually, we need to focus in different places? Like that might be a thing as well. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
triangulating on very little information there.
Yeah, it's little information, but going back to that point, like Edu, I did feel like, with his South American connections, I would have liked to have seen more talent coming in from there. And the only one we saw was Marquinhos, and that for me, I think for me, Edu has done a lot of good stuff at Arsenal. And I really want to reiterate that. We had a fantastic selling window in the last summer. But I think for me, one of the biggest annoyances I do have is the fact that we haven't extracted enough talent out there, in a market that we have a supposed expert in. And I'm hoping now with Andrea Berta and whoever this guy is with his track record, he can start to give us some of that talent. The Dean Huysons, but in forward areas.
Yeah, mate, that would be lovely. Oliver says, I'll do the next live for you, Alex. No one will notice. Do it, mate.
Yeah.
Do it. As long as I keep the money, because that's all I care about. Nindo, genuine highlight of my Thursday. Brilliant work. Thank you, Nindo. And that is a lovely place to get onto this. Last half an hour or so. Let's open the floor. We discussed Rodrygo. We discussed Gabriel's potential contract, although it was literally based on Instagram stories. Not much to discuss there. The announcement about Berta's new assistant, who
What's his name?
Tonyi. Mr. Berta's assistant. That's his full name. His surname is as assistant. What else did we discuss? We discussed Morgan Rogers, loads of other stuff. But yeah, get it in below. Ask as many questions as you possibly
any questions
would like. Any would you like?
Chat, how is
you get more questions right when you go on Sky Sports again? I hope so too, Mob. I hope so too. Speak on Greek kid link. Yeah, I saw this morning we were linked to a £45 million.
Oh God, yeah. 17-year-old, yeah,
like
left-footed attacking midfielder, though. I think
he's Greek. George. Alistair, I'm not falling for that, son. I wasn't born yesterday.
Where is it? Oh,
I'm not falling for that one, mate. A and Roy. Question: do you think Arteta platforms Saka as well as other top teams platform their star players like Salah and KDB? Well, I find this conversation a little bit hard because I look at a guy whose numbers were getting better and better every single year, and I would say performances were getting better and better every single year, and yet we're still going, it's not being platformed. I do get it, but
I think there's been a lot more emphasis on this after the Salah comments in terms of what Arne Slot has tasked him to do this season, in terms of staying high and effectively mitigating the responsibilities that he has out of possession, which, by the way, under Jurgen Klopp, he was doing, and Mohamed Salah was still a freak. Let's not forget this. He was doing a lot of the work and the hard yards off the ball, but there has been a change under Arne Slot. Now, for me, I don't sit in the camp of wingers should not be tracking back. They should be staying high, and they are the Mavericks, and you just feed the ball to them, and we let our back line deal with everything else. The fullbacks deal with the 2v1s, which is what happens on Liverpool's their right-hand side by keeping Salah high. I believe that wingers should be tracking back to deny overloads, especially when the opposition fullback are bombing forward, because you need to try and mitigate the margins there. And I do think that Saka, the only thing I would say with Saka is I'd like to see more emphasis on him coming more inside, from out to in, that we saw in 23-24 during our best time when Ben White was, starting deep and then joining high, Odegaard dropping in. But I actually don't sit in this camp of, we should be reducing the responsibilities of what Saka has off the ball. I think the left-hand side, for me, there's a conversation there in terms of that whole unit of how we use it. But on the right-hand side, I actually also don't think Saka, in terms of the defensive work, I think it is quite overstated in terms of deep areas, because Arsenal aren't in that situation much in games either, in terms of defending deep for prolonged periods. There's a lot of work in the press. So are you saying that Bukayo Saka's responsibilities in the press should be reduced? I don't think so, because that is what makes Arsenal fantastic. That is what has been consistent from the moment Mikel came, I'd say from 22-23 onwards. So it's an interesting debate. I think it's mainly came down to what Salah has been saying on Salah's usage. But I don't believe that we should therefore be completely altering.
I don't know. Yeah, I think we could.
Right, that's a lot there. But
no. What's my line? Lots to unpack there. Lots to digest there. Yeah, I don't know if I agree. I think you can adjust it a touch. Like, I don't know if this is what you're saying, but I think maybe I don't know, if he's tracking back 10 times, I'd like to see it 8 times. So it's that. So it's really not. It's not a big thing. I just think maybe, especially on the break, like I'm thinking about that Spurs game in 23-24 where we were away, and Saka's like our furthest attacker forward, playing off the last shoulder a little bit more. I guess I'd just like to see that a bit more.
Possibly,
I don't know if we can do
but
that.
That's a small thing, though. That's a really small thing. Like, for example, look at PSG. PSG's wingers, PSG's centre forward. Look at the work that they do off the ball. Are they not platformed? Are they not therefore allowed to do what they're very good at doing in the attacking third? No, no, it's not the case. So I'm sorry. Also, if the only way in which you don't want Saka to be supporting Ben White or supporting Timber in deeper scenarios is to move Saka as a number 10. That's the only way that happens in the Mikel. It will not happen. He won't change that. I will guarantee you that there are things that will change that we can't predict. One thing I can predict is Mikel is not going to change in terms of what he demands from his wingers off the ball when we are in a scenario where we have to suffer a bit more. And that is how it's going to be. Because he's a man who, we speak about it in terms of analytically and the data and if the winger doesn't support our fullback in this scenario when their fullback is doing this, that can lead to a dangerous scenario that happens here that could lead to a serious chance conceded. Mikel wants to mitigate that, and he will never change it.
I do get that, but I guess you've got to balance it. I mean, the thing is, though, is like, this is why I slightly, I don't know. I don't see platforming Saka as a big problem because, firstly, I believe he can be world class, as I've said a million times, in a million different positions. His numbers are going up. His performances are going up. He's becoming more and more important. If this season he hadn't got injured, it would have been his best season ever. And I just don't, like, I'm not sat there going like, oh, we're really not platforming this guy. Like, I go back to it like, I'm okay to have platforming conversations and I'm okay to have like balanced conversations in the team, of course, because sometimes it isn't right. And I'm not saying that Mikel gets it right every single time. But what I'm saying is, if you do something else changes. And I think that's the part that people don't always talk about. Like, I'll see people in the chat saying like, why can't we get, I don't know, Saka more inside, or why can't we get Rice deeper, or whatever it is, or Martinelli inside is obviously the conversation we have a lot of the time, but it's wider than that. So, okay, yeah, we can have Rice deeper, but then who's crushing the box? Or, yeah, okay, we can have Saka inside, but who's receiving the ball out wide, that pass that keeps us in the final third? Who's doing that? I'm not against changing things, but we don't always have the flip part of the conversation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, for example, if Saka was tracking back less, I'd have to have a conversation with you about Ben White and like, can we leave him exposed? You know, and that, do you know what I mean? I have to do that intellectually.
Exactly, and that's why I like to look at, you know, like small little changes, not like big changes. You know, for example, when we look at, I think when we look at the left-hand side, I'm not looking at it just as individual players. I'm looking at it as that whole unit. How can we change that can really get the best out of it? You know, because that is where, you know, we can see the biggest improvement as a collective, you know. And I think, you know, the Rice thing in terms of, it's small little tweaks that I look at in terms of Mikel and usage. Like I don't sit in this camp of, you know, what am I looking for next season? Oh, Mikel needs to platform Saka more. No, I'd rather Mikel look at the conversation of why is Rice standing in high areas between the midfield and defensive line against teams that don't press us? Why is Ethan Nwaneri playing stylistically the same role as Bukayo Saka when he's right wing? You know, these are the conversations I'm having, you know, where we're tweaking things, not a completely different ideology in terms of like how you change the role. So
I hear that. Dan G, do you think Eduardo Hein can last another week of no signings without exploding? How has our online fan base become so impatient?
Right, not good. All right, I don't know about you. Right, people are so mean on social media. Yeah, so let that guy do whatever he wants to do, and leave him alone. Just leave him alone. Like, just leave him alone.
Wow.
Because I hate this, right, Alec? I hate people who are rude. And you see so much of it on social media as well, especially with the straw man stuff, where you tweet something and then they will change it completely into something that is in their head. And then they react to that as opposed to reacting to the tweet. And then they start being mean. I don't like that.
That really annoys you, doesn't it? Like that specifically. It annoys me.
But the thing is, I never react to it. I just leave it there. But I do read it and it does annoy me.
I've just seen. Yeah, I think on I do get it. I do get it. And it does frustrate me too. I guess maybe you just caught me on a day where I'm just like, it's just, I suppose when someone is accusing me of having backing from a government because I'm on a podcast that does quite well, I think I just get to the point where I'm like, it's just silly. It is just silly. Like this, a lot of it is just silly. But people get really down about it. I can see it. Like, I was talking to I did a podcast with Tom Canton, and he's talking about it. I was like, dude, it really affects you, doesn't it? It really affects some people. Really affects some people. It has affected me at points when like it's, but yeah.
See, for me, it's kind of like, because at work, like, you know, I can't have my phone with me at work. You know, I'd have to go to like the canteen always, and it's a bit of a journey getting from where my office is to the canteen. So I just leave. So I don't really look at Twitter a lot, and I don't scroll through the comments. But if I was like there scrolling through the comments every time I tweeted and I see some of the stuff, I'd be like, for God's sake, like, it can get to you. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't let it bother me. But sometimes there was one guy I know yesterday, actually 2 days ago. This guy's he's got a pretty big account, and he's a fake ITK as well back in the day, a proper fake ITK, and he full on atted me. He full on atted me. And I was thinking, who does this guy think he is? Who does he think he is? And yeah, that really, like that did annoy me.
I get it, and that's valid. I'm not saying you shouldn't be, but I think the whole, as I say, I've said a billion times. I just think the whole thing is just like it's a status game. Honestly, you get a load of men in one space, and everyone's just going to be trying to one up each other the whole time. And it's just like, of course that's going to happen. So people are just, the moment someone has a bit of success in whatever they're doing, it's like, well, it's like,
yeah, exactly.
Just don't be a hater. Right, Rohan, you have to give 10 out of 10 for thumbnail check this week. You have to. I'm not going to share more details than this, but Alex has had a tough week, so that's a 10.
Okay.
And he made it on his phone. That has to be a 10. That has to be a 10. He's had a tough week. I'm not sharing his personal details. That's a 10.
10.
And he still turns up and he does the thumbnail. And these are the fucking standards, guys. These are the standards on the fucking cannonpod, guys.
Where is the
chat?
Little...
Give him a 10, please.
It is a 10.
I feel like Rohan had a traumatic school life.
I had a very good school life, actually.
Yeah, actually, I buy that. Yeah, I buy that. Were you ever bullied?
No. See, this is where I say I had a very good school life. No. So, I had an older brother, innit? So, I was never going to get bullied. My brother's pretty big. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And there were a few instances actually close.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he just was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was like that.
I'm not going to tell my big school story, but I'll tell one because my big school story would get me cancelled. One of them. So in my school there was like a cops. There was like a. Do you know what cops is? I realized we used to call it a cops, but I never, and I say cops to people, and they're like, "What does that mean?" Like a woods,
explain it.
Just like a woods, like trees, forest.
Okay.
A cops.
Okay.
But we always called it the cops, and I thought it was like a common phrase that everyone knew.
Is that part of your playground?
Yeah. No, basically we had the playground, then a cops, then a sports center we used to walk down to.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, like on Friday afternoons we used to have PE, and like the whole year would go out and play football. Literally the whole year. So this is 150 boys, right? And I'm at lunch, and there was this rumor that like someone had brought condoms into school, and everyone was like, God, I knew you'd laugh at that, right? And everyone was like, "Oh my god, this is so funny." And then like obviously you're like, you know, year 10 or something, so like someone having condoms is like my god, like what? Anyway, rumor goes around, and apologies for how crude this is, but someone had urinated, let's say, relieved themselves into said condom, right? You can probably see where this is going. Then I think this really forms my personality, right?
Oh no.
Then a rumor starts going around that someone had put it in someone's bag. And I was like, that's so funny. Imagine. That's so funny. Imagine putting a condom full of urine in someone's bag. Wouldn't that be really funny? And then I go, where's my bag? And I went down to the sports, you walk through the forest. I was like, please don't be my bag. Please don't be my bag. Because I thought my friend might have my bag. Walking down, got onto the field. About 50 kids are chucking my bag around with the wind. I'm laughing about it now. It was horrible.
It must have been
absolutely it was one of the most year 10 or whatever. It was the most mortifying experience of my life. But it was Kids
did you ever
mean, man.
Did you ever get in a fight?
Did I get in a fight? No, I've only ever been punched once in my life.
I got into 2 fights. Yeah.
Oh, what a mate.
No, it wasn't good.
Go on.
Wasn't good. Didn't come out well in one of them.
Oh,
Didn't come out well in one of them. The other one I held my own. Did you at school as well? You know, when you're playing football, there was in our school there was the smokers' den. So there was the group, where they look a bit
cool kids,
look a bit rough, right?
Seb Sands, that was the guy.
Seb
Sands.
You're playing football, right? And you're dreading to not kick it towards that area because the moment they get it, they then start messing around with it. Nobody's got the courage to try and confront them and get the ball back. And there was always this one guy, and big up to him, every single guy. He'd never wear a tie. He was quite scruffy. He'd go there and he'd get it back. He'd always get it back. He'd take one for the team. The other losers, including myself, were like, oh god, we like football, but we also don't want to get.
How would you describe it socially? Where were you in the hierarchy at school?
I wasn't up there. No. I was lower back in the day.
Lower.
I mean, you saw that picture.
Oh, more than anybody.
I was not bottom set, but bordering on foundation higher tier paper.
Yeah, I hear you. There. You weren't bottom of the food chain, but you were
surviving.
You could still laugh at a few people, but you were
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's say I don't do OnlyFans. Why are you saying? How do you explain your family what you do for a living? What do you mean? I run a podcast.
All right. Okay. Academically, were you in top set, bottom set, or?
I don't think we had sets.
Really?
In my since super chats will come to in a second. I don't think we had sets. I think we might have had sets for maths. And I think it might have been middle set for maths. I was never particularly good at maths, but yeah, we didn't. I don't think we had sets.
Well,
yeah, but in terms of where I was, my problem at school was I was bullied a bit. I was really sensitive, to be honest.
Yeah,
I was bullied a bit, but not crazily. But my issue is I was tiny. I was so small. I was literally, I was probably 5'3" till I was about 16, 17.
So
I was really, really small. Yeah, I had a massive growth spurt, and now I'm 6'12", obviously. But when's your growth spurt coming? Bulishan had a convo with AFTV Turkish online. Unpleasant. Oh, I'm sorry. I'd quite like to talk to Turkish because I don't agree with a lot of his opinions, but I think he actually backs them. So, yeah, maybe get him on a TCP live. We should do why. If everything's going,
he seems like a genuine guy as well. Just has his. Well, doesn't he? I think.
I think so. Yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah. I remember when was it after the United game when he had that rant this season? It was a rant that went viral of his. Maybe after the United game, maybe we hadn't signed anyone or something.
See, I do think though with when you can tell some people fake it, I don't think he fakes it.
No,
I think he's genuine. He genuinely cares, and fair enough. You know, that's why I don't get triggered by this kind of stuff personally. What annoys me is when people, you're just faking it. You don't care. But some people you can tell,
mate, he's there, home and away, all this stuff. And the thing is, as I always say, there's not one way to view football. Obviously we quite enjoy the Arsenal are informed on £5 million release clause for Kepa, says Fabrizio Romano. How exciting!
Nice.
We obviously love a certain aspect of the game, right? Obviously, me and George have slightly different angles on it, and I think it works because we're close enough, but we have different viewpoints on it, right? It'd be very difficult to maintain a podcast if all three of us were one person went to the games and home and away and absolutely hated Arteta, and then another guy was and then it was George, and then like I don't know, you were a historian and didn't really care about the current team. You know, it's like you can't really hold together a group. But there's so many ways to view football, and for Turkish, like I really respect it, and like I think he's really authentic, which is what people connect to. And like when he did that rant, I was like, I actually disagree with a lot of what you're saying, and I think there's a lot of context to stuff that you're missing. But I truly believe you mean what you're saying, and I think that's fair.
Yeah. No, that's why I'm always someone who's open to different opinions, and I'm always open to changing mine as well. Like always.
No, you're not.
No, we're always right, aren't we? We're always right.
Oh, mate,
Yeah,
I've
always.
never been wrong about football. Never. What phase is your hairline in? Says Bulashan.
I do think it has gone a little bit back. I did have a look yesterday. Was sweating a bit, but it's okay. It's still there.
Chat.
Still decent.
Chat.
Still decent.
What we saying?
Was sweating a bit.
I think we need a reveal.
Let me see yours again.
Or give us. We'll have a look.
We'll have a look.
We'll have a look.
The chat like we'll decide that. We'll be the judges to that.
Of course, we'll have a look. I've revealed my hairline before. Oh, I think it's gone a little bit more. Yeah, we've got a little widow's peak, but
Is that what it's called?
I think so. Yeah.
Widow's peak.
Yeah, Turkish. Speaking of Turkish, why wouldn't you reveal it? Are you nervous?
Just don't need to.
Just doesn't need to. Welb says Rohan hairline, generational stinker and hooked. Oh, people will think I'm being mean to you again because Anyway, sorry.
Don't be
What's
silly.
going on there?
We gotta watch this Spain game though. We have to watch this Spain game.
Yeah. Right, let's do 5 more questions before we close out the show. 5 more. Maybe shorter questions. Maybe sort of more.
Yeah, like all just quick fire. Quick fire.
I know, but it's. I think a lot of it is British banter. That's what I would say it is.
Yeah, it's nothing deep, honestly.
How are you? Says Vincent. I'm good, Vincent. Actually,
Actually,
How are you,
very
Rohan?
good. Yeah, very good. Productive day. So yeah. Need to go on holiday as well soon.
What are your thoughts on Berta Arteta feud?
Is there?
Is there?
Coming soon?
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it, no. Hopefully there's not. I don't think there is.
Soon, coming soon, could you tell us what you mean by this? I haven't seen it. Oh, good question, Forder. One thing you'd like to add to the Cannon Pod in future? Well, so behind the scenes, we've just added a producer, MJ, who people might know. And basically, we're having weekly meetings to sort of get stuff in order. We've ordered Rohan a new mic. That's coming. That should be arriving soon. So no more of my old rubbish mic. We've got a new show coming soon with a new host. Everyone's like, yes.
Who's this?
Someone else. Someone's hosting. Who isn't me?
You gotta tell me.
I'll tell you after. But yeah, we want to upgrade our main thing. We're going to add some new Patreon and YouTube member tiers potentially, just to get more for more content. Like nothing's going to change for the current tiers, but if you want to get more, you can. We're going to add some stuff for. We're going to change some of the like cameras and stuff because we're currently on all our webcams. We're going to try and get proper cameras and stuff. So yeah, just trying to keep growing, keep building. It's not James B. Oh, who is it?
Is it someone I know?
Yeah. Why was your growth spurt that late, Alex? My 11-year-old sister is like 5'5". How are you 5'3" at 17 as a guy? Yeah, I know. And it made me feel really insecure for a long time.
It's actually crazy though how some people, like, you see them like a few years before, like they're tiny, and then like 2 years down the line they're massive. Like I remember that there's this one guy. It's like, how is that even? He's just got massive, probably massive.
Yeah, over like one summer. It's crazy. Lee Gunner show with Alex. Oh my, that would feed families. We've just turned into therapy, I think.
Lee Gunner's, yeah.
I'd just be like,
I don't have any issue with Lee Gunner personally. He's even though he has quoted me a few times, but yeah. That's how Curry. But mate, you know.
Oh, here's my question. Here we go. Right, shirt numbers. Now we're talking. Number 1, David Raya. Number 2, William Saliba. Number 3, I'd have Zubimendi at number 3. You don't have to. You can do whatever you want for next couple.
You tell me yours. I don't care about this stuff.
Number 3, Zubimendi. Number 4, Ben. Why don't you care? It's like
Do you care about numbers?
It's like when you wouldn't give your liver for Isak because you don't have Arsenal. No, kidney. Sorry. 4, Ben White. Number 5, if he has to. Number 6, Gabriel. Number 7, Saka. Number 8, Martin Odegaard. Number 9, Jesus.
It's got to be the 9. It's sort of got to be the number 9, no? Like your actual out and out striker. Surely.
No, I don't. I'll keep it as Jesus. Number 10, Rodrygo. Oh, I'd love a number 10
fits
Rodrygo.
well. No, not number 9's got to be Sesko, surely.
11, Martinelli. But if he leaves, Sheshko 11 will be cold.
Nah, I don't see that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's poor that. It's poor. If you're a connoisseur of numbers, right? 11 for a striker.
I like 11 for a tall striker.
That RVP had 11, didn't he?
Was Edin Dzeko in number 11?
Did RVP have 11?
Yeah,
he did.
Don't ask me about.
I'm not good with numbers, though. I've said this time. I'm not good with the numbers.
Drogba 11. Do you know what I mean? 12. Is anyone 12 at the minute? 12 for like a left back.
Sesko 99 because he's got 99 pace on FIFA.
Sesko 99. I'd love
99 pace on FIFA.
Yeah. George only likes numbers under 18. Oh, Timber. Of course. Timber, I'm an idiot. Sorry. Timber. 13 backup goalie. 14. Oh.
Retire that shirt.
Maybe it should be retired. But then it was retired after Eddie Nketiah, which feels weird.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
we basically, the story is we tried it with a few players. It didn't work out. And now we're retiring it because we should have retired it from the moment he left.
Yeah.
Henry. But
Leao 14 would be cold. Do you think players should be allowed to have like 41 and 49 and stuff?
Yeah, I think it's quite original as well. It's a bit different, isn't it? Like, imagine, I think players, if they've got like a meaning to a specific number as well, like there's a proper meaning to it. Yeah.
I quite like what people say in the chat. We'll save it for Isak, but also save the 14 till you earn it. So like Sheshko could come in and be 11, but then if he earns it, he could be 14.
What would your number be? 69.
69.
Yeah.
What would my number be? The thing is, I'd be a sort of roaming creative 10. So I reckon on the bench.
Roaming creative number.
Oh,
10.
mate, big time, big time.
I told you I was an El Neni type. Just
ran for days. To be fair, you got good running stats.
Yeah, running's not bad.
If you had to build out like what would your overall be on FIFA?
Oh, like 60.
What about Alistair says 53 for 5'3"?
Alistair, come on.
Finish with this question from Nindo. Favorite non-Arsenal creator?
Content.
Do you mean in football or just in general?
I can tell you what podcasts I like listening to.
Oh, here we go.
The rest is politics.
You listen to it?
Yeah, occasionally, yeah.
Yeah, I actually think it's a pretty sick podcast.
It is good.
Damien Talks Money. It's another good one.
That is a good one.
Diary of a CEO, classic.
Who do I think it was on this channel. I'm trying to find a non. There's a podcast I listen to called David Sutcliffe, who actually interviewed Andrew Tate. He's the guy. He's a therapist who interviewed Andrew Tate. He's an amazing dude. He's so smart, really emotionally intelligent. If you're into that sort of stuff, Rupert Spira, if you're into your non-duality, which I imagine most of you are. What's your favorite band?
I don't really have one. No.
Okay.
What's your favorite band?
The 1975. Every day of the week. Headlining Glastonbury.
Are you a concert guy, Alex? Are you a concert guy?
My concert guy?
Are you a concert guy? Like a festival guy?
Okay. I misunderstood. Yeah, I've seen the 1975 like 10 times or so at this point.
See, I've never liked the idea of going to a festival.
Have you been to one?
Never, no.
You've never been to a festival?
Never been to a festival. Never been to a festival.
I went to V-Fest and saw Justin Bieber in 2016, and I have a really distinct memory of asking a girl in front of me, trying to flirt with her, what her A-level results were. That was my line.
That was your line.
That was my line. So, what were your A-level results?
What was it? What was that cringe thing we saw before where I think it was Dua Lipa, and there was someone trying to sing to her, and it was so cringe.
The guy. Oh, yeah.
Was that you?
Oh, it's so bad. Yeah, bless him. He did his best. That was basically me. Adam says Diary of a CEO is insufferable.
So, to be fair, some of them are, but I think there's some decent ones.
There's some pretty mad ones where they're like, your illness is caused by wood or something, and you're like,
yeah.
Okay.
See, I don't listen to those ones. I listen to the more the ones about economics and stuff like that. Yeah, stock market. And
really specific. The stuff like economics and stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah, but like there was a good one about again, I do not offer investment advice. I'm just saying
The Cannon Podcast does not offer investment advice.
I'm just saying there was one with I forgot what his name is, but he's like a big advocate for Bitcoin and blockchain technology. And that was pretty interesting what he was saying.
Vincent says, what stocks do you have?
What stocks do you have, Alex?
I'm not telling you.
I've got some pretty decent ones.
Tesla ones. They'll be doing well, won't they?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Right, finishing there. Thank you, everyone, for being here on another sumptuous, exciting TCP Live. We'll be back for another one next Thursday. Hopefully Arsenal will drop some more transfer news. I mean, this would be a fun thing. Every Thursday we just,
makes our life easy.
Drop some news. Andrea, I know you're watching, mate. Drop some more. Maybe just drop me a DM. See what happens. What would you do if Andrea Berta DM'd you? I was like, keep this on the DL, but I want to tell you something.
Mate, before we finish, do you see that clip going around of that guy saying, my mate saw Andrea Berta in London. Yeah. And, okay, I buy that. He probably saw him, and he's like, Gyökeres fist bumped, and then left. Get out of here.
But he said he was like, you've got it or something.
Yeah, you've got it. Yeah.
But I was also like, but he could have just been like, who do you want? Oh, I want this guy. There you go. Like, it doesn't mean what.
But yeah, so if he DM'd me.
Yeah. By the way, everyone send forward some love. He's had a tough one. Send forward some love.
Please do. I don't know what I would say. Meet you, Bogovic.
Williams. Nico Williams.
Send a voice note, just Williams.
Bogovic. Meet you. Funny.
Oh, man.
Kiss you on, yeah, buddy. Thanks, everyone. We love you all. Thanks for being on the Cannon Podcast. We did a Rodrygo scout. If you want to go check that out, we did an Anthony Gordon scout the other day. We've got a new live show coming up soon. Ooh! And yeah, me and Rohan are here every single Thursday. What else do we need to say? So you've got Data Pod coming out on Sunday. Make sure you support that. If you want to become a part of our Discord community, you can do so by becoming a Patreon or a YouTube member. You can also access all of the Scouted. Got some exciting stuff change on the Cannon Podcast soon. So yeah, we'll keep you all updated. Thank you all for being here. We love you very, very much. Thank you to the Cannon Podcast community. Anything to say, Rohan?
Big up Forder.
Big up Forder.
Sending love and everything towards him. And big up to the chat. Always. Thanks, everyone. Love you loads. See you next week. Thanks for watching, and thanks for keeping it Arsenal.
Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury. Electrifying.